As we continue here on Box to Row, we're joined by a young lady, as a matter of fact, the head women's basketball coach at Jackson State. Listen to this. The Tigers have won 5 straight SWAC tournament championships and have won 3 of the last 4. Let me back up. The Tigers have won 5 straight regular seasons and have won 3 of the last 4 SWAC tournament championships, on their way to another appearance in the NCAA tournament. And look, the Tigers get a 14 seed a game, but the prize is to have to play Connecticut, which I know Coach Reed is not going to run away from. Tomekia Reed is our guest, the head women's basketball coach here on Box to Row. What's going on, Coach Reed? It's been a couple of years.
It has. Nothing much. Just excited to be where we are at this point. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm glad to have you. So, like I mentioned, you get the 14 seed, which, you know, that's a solid seed. You've had some really nice wins, including a win over St. John's this year. But the prize is to play a perennial power. Now, they make UConn's not the power. It still is really good, but some other teams have come up. You've got, South Carolina that's come up. You've got LSU that's come up. But I know you and your ladies aren't going to run from that challenge.
No, we're not. We're going to meet this challenge head on like we do every game we play. We're going to make sure our players are prepared. We know Gino is a legend. We know his program is, a very prestigious program. But, statistically, we match up in a lot of areas with them. They're one of the top teams in their conference defensively, and we're number 1 in our conference defensively. So, we're just really excited about how we match up with them. Their depth is about as much as our depth on the, from the bench. And so we just got to come out and just play basketball, play solid and stick to the game plan.
You had a tough stretch earlier in the season, right before conference play, where you lost 4 straight games, but they were tough games. You got some of the games you lost, Kansas State. Teams are in the tournament right now. The last loss being to Texas. He won 21 straight games, ran through the SWAC tournament. Was it tough that those 4 straight losses, even though the losses were to tough teams?
I was extremely disappointed in our preseason performance. Establishing the program that we have here at Jackson State, in my 6th year, I was really expecting us to compete better in preseason. But I will tell you this, we had about 7 new players that we were trying to get to join together and figure out that chemistry. And we struggled. We brought top players in from other institutions, and, those players were good players, but they had to fit a certain role here at Jackson State. And we struggled early on trying to get them to buy into the role I needed them to buy into in order for us to be successful. So we had a lot of those issues in preseason, which hindered our ability to play. We played a lot slower in preseason because I had a big that was 6'5", who didn't move up and down the floor as quickly as my current team now. But when we lost her due to an ACL injury, we had to make some adjustments, and our team became a quicker team. So we learned from preseason. We figured it out. Players bought in. Because I told them, if you guys don't have if y'all don't buy into the role change, we won't win in conference. It's going to be the same thing as it is in preseason. So we had players that really sat down and bought into the new roles.
Obviously, as mentioned, you won 5 of these things, 5 regular season championships, 6 years in your 6th year. That's absolutely amazing. How tough was it not to win? I guess the old saying goes, you can't win them all, right? Like, how tough was last year? Tough loss. I don't mean to bring it up, but I'm just saying you can't win them all. Tough loss last year to Southern in the SWAC tournament.
Well, we look at the regular season and the tournament as 2 different seasons. And so the regular season, to go undefeated or to win your regular season is extremely hard. When you get to the conference tournament, you get a lucky shot, you win, you go to the NCAA tournament. But to be able to be consistently good throughout the season is really, really tough to do. And everybody thinks it's easy because we've done it 5 times in a row, but it's been really hard. we've had to make adjustments. I had to change my whole coaching style this year. I'm used to pounding the ball on the inside. I had to do some things differently this year. But I'm just really proud of the players my staff recruited into the program. They recruited players into the program that were going to be tough, players who were going to be resilient, players who was going to help us bring back the trophy to Jackson State that Southern had captured last year. And so, I'm just really proud of our team. They understand what the expectations are when they sign on to come play at Jackson State University. And no team wants to come in and be the team that doesn't win the regular season championship. No team wants to come in and be the team that fails the program and loses the tournament championship. So I think that's why we were so hungry and got after it so hard in the tournament this year, because we didn't want to feel what we felt last year. But I'm just really proud of our players. I'm proud of what a program is. And you can't do that without a great athletic director. You can't do that without a great staff. And you can't do that without, tough, resilient, great players.
Tomekia Reed is the head women's basketball coach at Jackson State as she joins us here on the program. You mentioned recruiting because you're known for that, especially at some of your last stops, a recruiting guru, if you will. How much are you, because you said your assistant coaches brought in great players. So how much are you actively involved in the recruiting process?
I'm very much involved. My coaches bring it to the table and I seal the deal. I'm the deal closer. That's one thing, one characteristic that I have that I pray to God to never take away. When head coaches become head coaches, sometimes they miss the relationship side of being really close with the players, having that coach-player relationship. Sometimes they miss that side of having that interpersonal close relationship with recruits. But that's one thing that I love about, who I am as a person. And I'm heavily involved. Some players I bring to the table. And a lot of players, I'm the one that closed the deal.
No doubt. For you, how have you been able to sort of make that transition? You've obviously 6 years in there at Jackson State to the point you were the assistant. Now you're the head, especially that first year. How much of it was the process in terms of transitioning from an assistant to a head coach, A, and then B, how have you grown in that process as the head women's basketball coach at Jackson State?
Well, as an assistant coach, you can't be a great leader until you are an amazing follower. And so when I was an assistant coach, I did what my head coaches wanted me to do, whether I agreed or disagreed. I was a great follower. I listened, I learned, and I said one day when I have my own program, I took a little bit from everybody I've coached with or coached for. I want to do this. I don't want to do that. I want to do this. I don't want to do that. And once you become a head coach, it's just one seat over. In terms of a bench, assistant coaches sit down, head coaches stand up most times. It's one seat over, but it's a big difference. It's a heavy hat to wear, and so, just going through trial and error, challenges, just being a student of the game, I've learned a lot. I've made mistakes. I make mistakes now. But one thing about it, I learn from those mistakes. I tell people when I win, I win. And when I lose, I win because I'm learning, so that's been my motto, just learn and make adjustments and get better. Every year, I want to be better. Winning a SWAC championship, winning a regular season championship does not make me complacent. It makes me hungrier because I know now we got a target on our back. The target is big. Every game we play is a championship game. Even in preseason, not having certain schools that want to play us, in our region. I remember the year before last, we had to go all the way across to the West Coast to play games because nobody over here wanted to play, so it's really tough. You have to make sure you're tough as a person to deal with that. You got to make sure your players is tough as well to be able to travel that far and still be competitive.
And you sort of had to do that this year, right? Like you had to go, Kansas State is not a close trip. Texas isn't necessarily close. Like nobody wants to play the Jackson State women's basketball program.
They don't. And it's really tough. A lot of times, I wonder, if I'm hurting more than helping, because, and I say that, am I hurting the university more than helping? I know we bring a lot of success here, but, when you're talking about finances, traveling all across the country like that, and sometimes a lot of these schools don't necessarily pay the guaranteed money that you really need, to really make it work. And by the time you take these trips, you spent half the money that they're going to pay you, so it's really tough. But again, those are the type of problems I want to have. I want to have those problems because it says that people respect us and that they respect our program.
Tomekia Reed, the head women's basketball coach at Jackson State, joining us here on the program for a couple of more moments. Coach Reed, does this team, the makeup of this team right now, remind you of any of your previous teams?
This team is different. This team is so different. It's so special. I have been my most confident with this team down the stretch. I've become really comfortable with them. I know what they're going to do. I know what they're capable of. This team is a very guard-oriented team. In our league, guards are really important. And then my bigs, I have bigs who can play on the block, but also play away from the basket. Have a really soft, sweet touch and a jump shot away from the basket. So this team is really, really special. This team is hungry. We had to have a hungry team to come in this year to get back what was taken, these trophies back here. We had to go back and get it. Like, this belongs at Jackson State. You got to do it, and this team was so special, so hungry, and got after it this year. So this is a unique team. This team right now, we're 26-6. This is the best record in Jackson State history, and so I'm just really proud of this team.
Yeah, and by the way, I might add number 15 in the collegeinsider.com top 25 mid-major poll, which is really, really big. Looking at a couple of players, Bowler, Crump, they were all-conference players for you. Speak to these two young women in particular and how they lead and fit into this team.
Bowler and Crump, they are like Batman and Robin. And at certain times they're interchangeable. One is Batman this day and one is Robin that day. They work really well together. I'm just really happy about the dynamics they both bring to the team. Bowler has challenged herself this year to become a better rebounder. And Maya Crump, she defends the best players on the other teams. And she come out and she's, one of the best players for us offensively. So she wears a heavy hat. Her role is heavy. Some nights she played 35 plus minutes, and so those are two players who bring a really, really tough, great competitive dynamics to the team.
What do you have to do, and your team specifically have to do to get the victory against UConn?
We just have to play our basketball. We have to keep our composure. I thought against LSU a couple of years ago when we were 14 seed and they were number 3. I thought we lost our composure somewhat in that game. I thought we allowed the officials to get in our heads. So we're going to have to, going into the UConn game, keep our composure, let the game be called how it's going to be called, and just play our game. I think we're going to have to be really good defensively. Not allow role players to have, a great game against us. And we're going to have to contain their leader. Paige. Paige does a great job at scoring the ball. She does a great job in creating for others to score the ball. So we're going to have to make sure that we contain. But we got to score. We got to score the ball. UConn does a great job in holding their opponents to 56 points a game, like we do. We hold opponents to 54, 56 points a game as well. But we have to be able to score the ball against them.
Last thought, and we appreciate the time, was talking with Larry Vickers, the head women's basketball coach at Norfolk State. I'm almost afraid to ask you this question. He says his downtime is playing Call of Duty. And matter of fact, he says he's the best head coach in Call of Duty. Now, do you even have free time? Like you're after it all the time? I'm sure you do. What do you like to do in your free time?
I have a son. He's 11. And he travels with me. He's a type 1 diabetic, so I keep him close with me. being so young. And so in my free time, I like to spend time with him because he's extremely athletic. And so we do baseball, we play catch. I allow him to hit. We go to the batting cage. We play basketball. I like to be a mom to him in my off time, to be honest with you. And outside of that, being a mom to him, the rest of the hours, I'm probably sleeping if I'm not working, But I do not have a whole lot of time to play those games like Coach does. But if I did, I'm telling you, I'd probably be the best at it too. I love Coach because he does a great job. So, yeah.
Have you? I don't think Jackson State and Norfolk haven't played.
We haven't, and we want to. We want to play. I talked to Coach Robert Jones, the men's head coach there, and we're trying to work some stuff out so we can get on the court against each other.
Man, that would be absolutely awesome. Again, Jackson State 26-6 on the season, 5th straight SWAC tournament championship, and winners of 3. I said it again. Excuse me. 5th straight regular season title in the SWAC, and 3 of the last 4 SWAC tournament championships going to be up against Connecticut on Saturday in the first round of the NCAA women's tournament. Tomekia Reed, the head women's basketball coach at Jackson State, joining us here on Box to Row. Coach Reed, again, great to catch up with you. Continued success to you and the Tigers.
Thank you so much. Thank you for